Today I'm going to work with properties of whole numbers. Okay, everybody's familiar with whole numbers. Now, when we talk about whole numbers, there are different types of whole numbers different properties of whole numbers that we work with. The first one I'm going to talk to you about today is about the commutative property. Okay, what is that? What is a commutative property? Okay, the commutative property is valid when we talk about addition and multiplication. The commutative property states that if only, let me get my shareboard, states that if only addition or multiplication is occurring, it doesn't matter in which order the operation is taking place. So let's have a look at this example of a commutative property. Okay, we've got addition here and we'll have multiplication on this side. Okay, so in addition, if I say A plus B is equal to B plus A, that would be correct. In multiplication, if I say A times B is equal to B times A, that will also be correct. Okay, so it's, for example, if I have to be saying 4 plus 3 plus 7 is equal to the same as 3 plus 4 plus 7. Okay, everybody agreed that that would be it. 4 plus 3 plus 7 is equal to the same as 3 plus 4 plus 7. Okay, if I say 3 times 2 times 5 is equal to 5 times 3 times 2. That will give me the same answer. So if I used either addition or multiplication, the commutative property applies. Okay, it doesn't matter in which order the operation is taking place, which number I'm adding first or last in the equation, it will still be the same. However, look at this and tell me if this is true for this particular sum. 4 plus 3 times 7 is equal to the same as 4 times 7 plus 3. No, because 4 plus 3 is 7, and 7 times 7 is 49. And if I have to say the second part of it, 4 times 7 plus 3. 4 times 7 is equal to 28. 28 plus 3 is going to give me 31. So can you see how this answer won't be correct? So this will not apply because this will be false. Okay. Let's do one more of this commutative property. A times B times C is equal to the same as C times A times B. That would be true. Okay, so just for us to recap, guys, commutative property simply means that it doesn't matter which order it's working in, as long as it's an addition or a multiplication, the order is not important. However, when we mix the operations together, like I just did in the previous one, then it would matter, because we saw that 4 plus 3 is 7, and 7 times 7 is 49. And on the other side, we saw that we had to first work at 4 times 7 first, and 4 times 7 was 28, plus the 3, which was giving us 31. Okay. Now, that is called the commutative property. Now we're going to work with associative. What does the word associative actually mean? When we talk about associative property, we are talking about grouping. Okay, we are talking about grouping. The association is valid also for addition and multiplication. Okay, this property shows that it doesn't matter how the numbers are grouped, if they are added or multiplied, the solution will still be the same. So let's have a look at this. So we say A plus B plus C is equal to the same as A plus B plus C. Okay, everybody agreed that the both sides would be the same. I'm working with whole numbers. Okay, so moving along. So and if we work a multiplication out, if I say A times B times C is equal to A times B times C. And this will also be correct. So associative property or grouping works once again the same for multiplication and addition, because it doesn't matter which way you set out the operations, they will be equal on both sides. Okay, so now I'm going to show you something. 3 plus 8 plus 5 is equal to 3 plus 8 plus 5. Okay. Okay, now we need to first work out how do we have to first solve brackets. Okay, so firstly, in this instance, we'll say is equal to, what is 3 plus 8? It's 11 plus the 5, and it's equal to 16. And then we work out on the other side as well. Okay, on this side, we're going to say, work out our brackets once again, and is 8 plus 5 is 13. Plus the 3 is equal to 16. So you can see with associative property or grouping, if it's addition or multiplication, it will be the same. Okay, I'm going to do one with a multiplication. 3 times 4 times 2 is equal to the same as 3 times 4 times 2. Now, firstly, like we said, we always solve brackets first. So 3 times 4 is 12, and 12 times 2 is 24. And on the right-hand side, we're going to do the same thing, but we're going to see 4 times 2 is 8, and 8 times 3 is equal to 24. Therefore, 3 times 4 times 2 is equal to the same as 3 times 4 times 2. Okay, so that was commutative properties and associative properties. Okay, we see that if we're using multiplication or addition, the order in which it is sitting or occurring does not matter. The solution will still come out the same. Okay, now we go on to another one called the distributive property. Okay, the distributive property. Okay, and what does the distributive property tell us? It applies to multiplication over addition and subtraction. It says, using this property, a number outside of a bracket can be multiplied by every number inside of the bracket, provided the number inside the bracket are added or subtracted. So what do I mean by that? So if I say A times B, plus C, okay, is equal to the same as A times B plus A times C. So what I've basically done is I've taken the number outside the bracket and I have then multiplied them individually. And that's how distributive property works. Okay, For us to be able to do another example, I'm going to say 5 plus 4 2 is equal to 5 times 4 plus 2. Okay, so once again, we got 5, we got 4 plus 2, we got 5, we got 4 plus 2. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, sorry, I'm going to start with the 5s. I'm going to say 5 times 4 plus 5 times 2, and 5 times 4 is 20, and 5 times 2 is 10. Therefore, my answer will be 30. Okay. Then if I do this, if I say 2, 8 minus 5, minus 3 plus 4, what I am saying is 2 times 8 minus 3 plus 4. That's what I am saying. That's what the brackets is signifying, that I'm multiplying. So I multiply the 2 by each of the numbers in the brackets. So let's start with the first one. I first say is equal to 2 times 8 minus 2 times 3 plus 2 times 4. Okay? This is what you do. When we're working with distributive properties, we take the outside number and we multiply them individually. So 2 times 8 is 16, 2 times 3 is 6, and 2 times 4 is 8. So 16 minus 6 is 10, plus the 8, our answer should be 18. Okay, so now we've done commutative properties, we've done associative properties, we've now done distributive properties, and now we're going to move on to the identity property. When we talk about the identity property, we are talking about this property is applied to numbers where the numbers does not change. There are two identity properties for whole numbers. One is for the addition and one is for the multiplication. The additive identity is 0. Okay, and the multiplicative identity, is 1. Okay, so 0 is an additive identity and 1 is a multiplicative identity. So guys, even without using a calculator, for example, we'll say 12 plus 0 is equal to still 12. Okay, 7 plus 0 is still equal to 7. You don't need a calculator to understand all of that. Okay, that is very basic. Anything we add to 0 will be the same number as we adding. But what happens to when we multiply? When we multiply a number by 0, the number, so 12 times 0 is what? 12 times 0 is 12, because the number does not change. Okay, so what happens when we divide? So if I say 20 divided by 1, 20 divided by 1 is 20. Well, what is 20 divided by 0? 20 divided by 0 is equal to? If I divide a number by 0, what will my answer be? It will be undefined. okay, which is 0. You can't, if you divide a number by 0, it is undefined. Okay, if we divide a number by the multiplicative identity, it will be the same number. Like 20 divided by 1 is going to give me 20. Okay. Yes. So you can say undefined, or you could say 0. Okay, so now guys, we need to move on, and we're going to do a few calculations by division by 0. So the two important properties you have to understand when dealing with the division and the number 0 is, firstly, 0 divided by any number except 0 will always be 0. Okay. Okay, that's one important property you need to know when we're dealing with divisions by 0. And the other is any number divided by 0 is undefined. Okay, so those are the two rules you need to know when you're working with division by 0. So let's work a few examples. So if I say 0 divided by 35, if I say 0 divided by 6, divide by 3, okay. So let's look at the first one. 0 divided by 35, we know is going to be 0. 0 divided by 6 divided by 3 is going to still be 0. 35 divided by 0 is undefined. Okay, and 6 divided by 3 divided by 0 is also undefined. Okay, now okay, so I see a couple people have requested not to be learning about properties of whole numbers. This is foundation, you guys are, this is foundation 1 maths. If you guys are unsure, if you want me to stop on this topic and you have a different question, please feel welcome to come in. We're going to do inverse operations, and then I'm going to conclude with running over factors, prime numbers, composites, and multiples. Okay, if you guys want to work angles, you need to let me know next week which part of angles you want to work with. Okay, inverse operations. Okay, what is an inverse operation? In its word alone, it will tell you that an inverse operation affects another operation. And how does it affect the other operation? It reverses the effect. Like plus is to minus and multiplication is to division. That's how it works. So addition and subtraction are inverse operations. They're the inverse of each other, and same with multiplication and division. Okay, so if I say 20 times 30 is equal to 600, for me to know whether this is correct, I'm going to go ahead and say 600 divided by 30, and my answer will be 20. Okay, and likewise, if I say 500 plus 300 is equal to 800, if I inverse it and say 800 minus 500, my answer should give me 300. Okay,